Welcome! Today I am doing a profile on Blazing Chrome. This also marks the first Steam profile. Thank you to Joymasher for sending me a review code of the game. I don't want to take any more of your time, so with that being said, let's get started. Gameplay. Blazing Chrome is a 2D run and gun by developer Joymasher and is essentially a homage to the Metal Slug and Contra series. It aims to pay respect to contemporaries of the past, updated with conveniences for the modern era. The story is relatively simple. War has broken out between AI and humans, leaving the world in shambles. Mavra, a resistance leader, and Doyle, a converted toaster, must go on a suicide mission to stop this technological threat. As soon as you start, you must pick your desired difficulty and then select your character. There are a total of 4 characters, with the first 2 being unlocked from the start, Mavra and Doyle. After your selection is made, a brief tutorial is shown and onto the mission screen you go. Blazing Chrome has 6 missions in all, and the first 4 missions need to be completed to access the last 2. You can complete them in any order and the difficulty of each is chronological. The objective here is the same as your typical shooter, with several elements borrowed from aforementioned games. Controls are simple and remappable in the options menu. For this review, I used the Xbox One controller as my remote of choice. Character actions are based on my custom configuration. Press X to shoot, press A to jump, press down plus A to roll, hold right trigger to fix your aim, and press left and right bumper to switch weapons. There are 4 weapons in the game: the standard shot, the whip shot, the grenade launcher, and the particle beam. The standard shot does moderate damage and is decent enough. The whip shot is useful for enemies that are harder to hit. This is the weakest weapon in your arsenal due to its easy use. The grenade launcher is a boss killer and easily the best gun in the game. It kills super fast and has a small spread on impact, making it a tiny bit lenient with aim. I don't want to call this gun broken, but it's certainly powerful. Lastly is the particle beam, really effective with just about any kind of enemy. By holding the shot button, you can charge it up and unleash a beam that can be aimed freely as you move around. Acquiring weapons can be done by finding pickups, shooting crates, or destroying weapon pods. The pods shuffle through weaponry or battle bots and take a few bullets to crack open. If you manage to get a battle bot, it will either be an attack, speed, or defense bot. The attack bot provides an extra round of fire in whatever direction you are aiming. The speed bot gives your character a speed boost and a double jump. Certain items can be attained by having this one in particular. The defense bot grants your character a shield that can take 2 hits. Grabbing this again cancels out your previous shield. When I think about it, these items remind me of something you'd find in the shmup, although no smart bombs of any sort are present in Blazing Chrome, an interesting omission. So far it's pretty Contra-like, but the Metal Slug influence comes down to the melee attack and mech usage. Melee is performed by pressing X next to an enemy. The range of the melee is good and can actually be seen. Cannon fodder enemies can be taken care of this way and is better off in some cases. If you're feeling froggy, try meleeing during boss fights for good damage. This detail is very reminiscent of Gunstar Heroes, where the melee attack is one of your strongest assets. Mech usage is present for the player and it's pretty awesome. Controls for piloting mechs are the same as being on foot. Some mechs have an alternate move like a dash or charge attack. These vehicles have vitality and you'll automatically eject once it goes out. If you take good care of it, it can be used in the boss fight for extra firepower. Speaking of bosses, there are plenty to find in Blazing Chrome. On your way to the end of the mission, you'll encounter various mini-bosses and the stage boss itself. Boss fights are great and provide a decent challenge. Attack patterns are fast, swift, and will need to be memorized. Certain boss fights can undergo different phases as well. You have the option of simply shooting or getting up close and personal. Good reflexes are definitely a must. Blazing Chrome is challenging, but not exactly punishing. What drove me to that conclusion are the conveniences it provides, even on normal difficulty. You see, normal and easy difficulties contain a save system, and every time you complete a mission, your progress is recorded. If you lose all lives, you'll simply be sent to the last checkpoint instead of having to replay the entire level. However, when you complete the game, the hardcore difficulty, 2 new characters, and a boss rush will be unlocked. Hardcore mode is an old school oriented challenge and will appease veterans of the genre. The save system is disabled along with limited continues and lives. The true Contra experience can definitely be found here. Once you're feeling confident with your shooting abilities, then try out either Raijin or Suhaila. These two are melee characters and provide a fresh way to replay the game. If you enjoy titles like Strider or Ninja Gaiden, that's basically what it's like. You have the same moves as the shooting characters, albeit without the actual shooting. Instead, you perform punches or sword slashes. These have limited range, but if you charge your shot, you'll unleash a big slash across the screen. Both characters are stronger and faster as compensation for range, and therefore enemy projectiles become adjusted. A dash move is implemented to evade incoming dangers, as you'll have to close in on enemies to damage them. Rolling is still an evasive option as well. As you can tell, the pacing changes significantly and is a prime candidate for speedrunning. If you check the options menu, you can activate an in-game timer to help practice for that very thing. A member of my Discord was killing it in this department. I couldn't get footage for co-op, but I know for a fact that with a friend, Blazing Chrome becomes real enjoyable as well. Others have lamented on the omission of online play, and understandably so. Fortunately, online co-op is approaching in a future update, and this will grant you an excuse for a new playthrough. Overall, Blazing Chrome was worth the anticipation, providing classic run-and-gun action with frantic energy, carnage, and even replayability. This target can be hit or miss for indie titles, but I am happy to say that it has total confirmation. Joy Masher has done an excellent job.
Graphics.
The graphics for Blazing Chrome truly captures what made 16-bit cinematics so cool, and not just that, it could even work on a console from that era. Danilo Diaz, designer and one half of Joy Masher, is the head honcho for pixel art. His main influences for the graphic style are from titles like Contra, Metal Slug, and classic films like The Terminator and Aliens. These films would also be the basis for Contra itself, so it makes perfect sense. Blazing Chrome's choice of colors and palette serve as a contender for the Mega Drive hardware. The first mission seems like an unused stage from Contra Hardcore, as similar shades of color and sprite work can be seen. Backgrounds are well done, consisting of parallax scrolling and different layering techniques. Character, enemy sprites, and bosses are detailed and contain some multi-jointed animation. My favorite boss in Blazing Chrome is the final one. When the player destroys these floating devices, the space warps into a wireframe-like setting. When I first saw this, I automatically knew this was my favorite part of the entire game. I couldn't help but think about the finale in Shinobi 3 as it executed a very similar idea. In Mission 3, there is an enemy that is being swallowed by quicksand in the background. The very same thing happens in the desert stage of Mortal Kombat 3 as a Cyrax robot is seen drowning in the background. The stage itself bears resemblance to the first mission of Hardcore Uprising, probably the least talked about Contra in the entire series. The last segment of Mission 4 was a pleasant surprise, as it turns into a 3D rail shooter, influenced by Space Harrier and its use of superscalar technology. The player travels through a huge tunnel filled with obstacles and even the boss fight at the end. Superscalar is an early form of 3D based texture mapping, designed by the likes of Yu Suzuki at Sega's AM2 division. Other game developers would soon try their hand at capturing these visual techniques. Danilo talks about his influences in an interview with Video Chums. We added a lot of different stuff in Blazing Chrome: the fast gameplay and visuals of Contra, the vehicles of Metal Slug, some stages with mechanics inspired by the bike section of Battletoads, and there's even a faux 3D stage totally based on Space Harrier. As with our previous games, this mix of different influences is our recipe for a fun game that is not a clone of a specific game, but the sum of parts that we love from lots of them. If you go to the options menu, there are CRT filters you can apply, as this was implemented to create a retro look. Selection is limited, but more filters will be updated as far as I know. Blazing Chrome's graphical presentation is top-notch and very Japanese in design. There isn't much else for me to say other than it's an excellent display of respect for retro visuals of the past. It'll definitely catch any discerning eye, for sure.
Music and sound.
The music for Blazing Chrome was composed by Dominic Ninmark and Thiago Santos. Dominic has composed for indie titles like Bot Vice and has contributed several tracks to Mega Man X Corrupted. Thiago Santos is someone I couldn't find much information on. What I do know, however, is that he is responsible for only 3 songs in the entire game. The early version of Mission 1 was posted onto Joy Masher's YouTube 3 years ago. This version of the song sounds like a concept, simply made as an idea due to its very keyboardy sound. The composition remained intact, albeit arranged in the final game by Dominic. Over the span of Blazing Chrome's development, a few more tracks would be posted, and Dominic would follow through with newer content on his SoundCloud. A couple of these were WIPs or subjected to change. I'm not entirely sure what the process was when creating the music, but the quality is very Mega Drive and arcade oriented. It sounds a lot like the YM2151, a prominent FM sound chip found in arcade boards of the time. Konami was very fond of this hardware. There are influences from some Konami games like Sunset Riders and even TMNT. We used a lot of different styles of music in our soundtrack, and our music guys are very talented. Generally speaking, it's mostly FM synthesis combined with heavy sampling. For some odd reason, the in-game music is mixed into mono, and I'm not sure if that was intentional. Melodically, the compositions are rock and action focused, with a kukeha flair in the mix, appropriate for this type of game. Sound effects are interesting and are processed into a PCM-like quality. Explosions and weaponry sound just fine with a proper amount of thumpiness. Samples of speech are also present from the intro, title screen, death cries, and character banter. As of this video, there is no official soundtrack. I do hope that one is released so I can listen to these tracks in their mastered form. Okay, with that being said, let's check out the music that defines Blazing Chrome.
Development and philosophy.
Blazing Chrome was developed by Joymasher, an indie creator based in Brazil since 2012. The team consists of two members, Danilo Dias and Thais Whaler. Joymasher is responsible for titles such as Odalis and Oiniken, two action platformers consisting of an 8-bit aesthetic. Going from an 8-bit to a 16-bit graphic style can introduce more freedom but also welcomes new challenges in development, especially when replicating techniques from older consoles. Limitations need to be considered and the process becomes more concentrated as a result. Danilo himself has mentioned that he isn't exactly the best coder, so instead, a talented programmer named Yuri handles that aspect, who also founded his own studio called Alone Works. The entire game was created in Game Maker Studio, a game creation tool initially designed for amateur programmers. It has since grown into an adept language for more experienced developers. Blazing Chrome was released on July 11, 2019 for the PS4, Xbox One, Steam, and the Switch. A physical release for the Switch and PS4 is planned towards the end of 2019. Joymasher has begun full-time work on a new title called Moonrider, a retro-based action platformer. If you follow Danilo on Twitter, you'll be able to see the game's progress as he shows new mechanics and bug fixes. I actually featured this project in my most anticipated 2D action games a few months ago. Those who enjoyed that video expect to see more of that very soon. I want to give a big thanks to Joymasher for once again sending me a review code of Blazing Chrome, and to my viewers for watching. Don't forget to comment and let me know what you think of Blazing Chrome.